Are you the reserved guest I have? I have something to confirm with you. Would you mind sparing a moment? As I was about to enter the restaurant, a woman in a chef's attire with a tense expression approached me. I wondered what she wanted to confirm regarding my meal. When I listened to her, I was hit with a shocking revelation that made me go pale. My name is Emily Thompson, 31 years old, working in the advertising industry. I work hard to create better advertisements. It's a challenging but very rewarding job. My husband, whom I met through work, is named John, a year older than me, and we've been married for a year. Being a dual-income household, we share our household chores and help each other out, managing our life quite efficiently. Initially, our interactions were only related to work, but as time went by, we started having more personal conversations and grew closer. I realized that we had similar interests and values, and I started developing feelings for him. When our collaborative project was coming to an end, fearing that we might not see each other often afterward, I mustered the courage and confessed my feelings to him. I had always been focused on my work, and while I dated before, this was the first time I ever confessed my feelings to someone. I was very nervous, but he accepted my feelings, and so we started dating. After a year, he proposed, and we got married. Before marriage, John told me he had been previously married and was divorced. They were married for about a year, had no children, and mutually decided to part ways due to differing values. It seemed like John regretted not being able to make his previous marriage work. He seemed a bit reserved when it came to love, probably because of his past experience, but I understood. As long as there were no lingering issues, I didn't mind his past. It wasn't about wanting happiness from marriage, but wanting to live my life alongside John. So I accepted the fact that John was divorced and went ahead with the wedding. Our married life was filled with happiness, but slowly, the real implications of John being divorced began to unravel. After our wedding, we moved to an apartment close to both our workplaces. John's parents live nearby, and we get along well. Our married life has been smoother than I anticipated. Initially, I had concerns about living in close proximity to my in-laws, fearing potential conflicts. However, they were always kind to me. Given our work schedules, John and I hardly have time during the weekdays, but we make the most of our weekends together. Living with my husband, and both of us working, we don't get much leisure time together on weekdays, except for brief conversations at dinner. Therefore, we spend a lot of time together on weekends. We both enjoy cooking and often experiment with dishes we want to try at home. Ideally, dining out would be great, but I have an allergy to fruits from the Rosaceae family. As a result, I can't casually eat out. Even when I think a dish doesn't contain these fruits, they might be used as a hidden ingredient. This makes it tedious to constantly check with restaurants. Even a slight touch causes my skin to turn red and swell. I feel bad asking about ingredients at restaurants and have developed an aversion to dining out due to this. I developed this allergy as an adult, and initially I was taken aback since I hadn't expected it. I recall a time when I ate a lot of strawberries and my mouth swelled up, making it difficult to breathe. I used to eat fruits frequently, and after getting tested at the hospital, I was devastated to find out about my Rosaceae fruit allergy. Discovering that I could no longer eat favorites like strawberries, apples, pears, and peaches saddened me. I've had reactions after eating food I thought was safe, only to find out they contained allergens, which further discouraged me from dining out. This made me apprehensive about buying ready-made meals or snacks, adding a bit of stress to my life. Perhaps due to the initial severe allergic reaction and the sadness of not being able to eat my favorite fruits, I became overly cautious about checking ingredients during meals with my husband while we were dating. My constant checks made me feel apologetic. However, I can't feel at ease without thorough confirmation, and without it, I can't fully enjoy meals. Still, we love eating, so my husband and I would select ingredients and enjoy cooking together. This routine helped reduce my excessive worries. Fortunately, both my husband and his parents understand my allergies, which has eased the mental burden. After getting married, I especially felt a deep understanding from my mother-in-law, who herself had experience with allergies. Her father had a severe wheat allergy, and as wheat is commonly used in many products, even a small amount affected him. Allergies, as she explained, can be lethal. She researched my allergy and always ensured that meals were safe for me when we dined at her place or went out. Taking extra precautions, she made it a point to allow me to enjoy meals without worries. You shouldn't have to be scared during meals. I'll make sure everything is safe for you, she told me, which almost moved me to tears. I have a great relationship with my in-laws, especially my mother-in-law, who treats me like her own daughter. We often go out together, and my husband and his parents are wonderful people. The concerns I initially had about my allergies have vanished. One day, a project I proposed at work was successful, earning me a promotion, which I excitedly shared with my family. They were all thrilled, especially my mother-in-law. While spending time with her, she invited me to celebrate at an upscale restaurant. That's a very fancy place, isn't it? I can't let you do that. I hesitated. The restaurant was in a luxurious hotel nearby, which I had always dreamt of visiting since my student days. However, it was truly upscale, and I felt it was too extravagant even for a celebration. You don't have to hold back. This is such a joyous occasion. Let me treat you, she insisted, genuinely happy about my promotion. Her sentiment warmed my heart, but I had reservations. I remembered visiting the restaurant's website before my allergy developed and dreaming of tasting their fruit-filled tarts someday. The restaurant often uses fruits from the Rosacea family. While I appreciate my mother-in-law's kindness, besides the issue of the restaurant being upscale, I'm hesitant because they frequently use fruits from the Rosacea family, to which I'm allergic. Whenever I dined out with my mother-in-law in the past, we informed the restaurant of my allergy beforehand. Each time I faced the prospect of informing a restaurant about my dietary restrictions, I couldn't shake the guilt of inconveniencing them. Consequently, my mother-in-law and I typically opted for restaurants that rarely used allergenic foods. My concern grew, considering the frequent use of fruits at the upscale restaurant my mother-in-law proposed. Though dishes without these fruits were safe for me, the temptation to try them was strong. However, the potential risk in a kitchen likely processing these fruits scared me. Ultimately, I declined the offer due to concerns about a potential allergic reaction. Still, my mother-in-law insisted, assuring me she would inform the restaurant about my allergy when making the reservation. To my surprise, she mentioned having a connection there, ensuring they would take good care of us. Feeling relieved by my mother-in-law's assurance and her history of considering my allergies, I agreed to have lunch at the restaurant. When I shared the plan with my husband, he was surprised to learn about his mother's connections. He appreciated the restaurant's consideration for allergies, but mentioned that they sometimes served fruit. Upon hearing that my mother-in-law had informed the restaurant about my allergies during the reservation, my husband seemed relieved. It's a celebration of your promotion, right? Make sure to enjoy yourself, he said, noticing my anticipation for the day. Excited about the long-awaited celebration, I took a half-day off from work and headed straight to the restaurant on the eagerly awaited weekday. Opting for a more formal outfit than usual, I paid extra attention to my appearance. Colleagues noticed my attire and inquired about my plans, wishing me a good time before I left the office. Entering the hotel, I found my mother-in-law already waiting. Together, we headed to the restaurant on the first floor, where our reservation ensured we were promptly escorted to our table. Our reservation was set for 1:00 p.m., but due to the bustling lunchtime crowd at the popular high-end restaurant, we were informed that the serving might be a bit delayed. Understanding the situation, I decided to order just drinks for the time being and wait patiently. Having already finished work and encouraged by my mother-in-law, I ordered champagne. We enjoyed our conversation while eagerly awaiting our meal. As I savored the effects of the alcohol and anticipated the dining experience I had longed for, I was in high spirits. The dishes at the neighboring tables looked delicious, and I was eagerly awaiting our own meal. Suddenly, my phone rang from inside my bag, and realizing I hadn't turned it off during our meal, I tried to silence it. Seeing the incoming call was from work, I immediately sobered up, worried that there might be a problem. Excusing myself from my mother-in-law, I stepped out of the restaurant to take the call, ensuring privacy in case of sensitive information. The call was regarding a document I had submitted earlier that day, and my colleague urgently needed clarification. Relieved that it wasn't due to an error on my part, I answered their questions and wrapped up the call in about 5 minutes. As I was about to turn off my phone to return and enjoy my meal, an unfamiliar woman, dressed as a chef from the restaurant's kitchen, approached me. "Excuse me, you're the customer who made a reservation for today's meal at the restaurant, right?" With a concerned expression, she urgently told me to leave the hotel immediately, stating that it was dangerous to go back to the restaurant. Suspicious of her intense demeanor, I sought clarification. Once I grasped the situation, I felt the blood drain from my face. I quickly hopped into a taxi waiting in front of the hotel and headed home. That evening, my mother-in-law called, furious about me leaving her at the hotel and returning home without saying anything, causing embarrassment. "You had everything set up to celebrate, and you just leave without a word. Don't you know basic manners? What kind of upbringing did you have?" She was angry in a way I had never seen from my mother-in-law before, and she started to berate me. I had always thought of my mother-in-law as a kind and gentle person. But there was no trace of that kindness now. I couldn't fathom the transformation in my mother-in-law. I had believed that the kind and caring mother-in-law I had known would be upset if I left without saying anything. But she would also be concerned about whether something had happened to me. However, she was furiously yelling with such intensity that I began to question the rumors circulating about her. Remaining silent, I endured her berating, which extended even to complaints about my parents and how they raised me. "You've been silent this whole time. Don't you realize you've done something wrong? You're not fit to be my son's wife," she yelled. After a long tirade, she finally seemed to calm down a bit. That's when I quietly posed a question to her. "You told me that you informed the restaurant about my allergies when you made the reservation today, and I could relax, right? But the restaurant wasn't aware of my allergies, so what happened? In fact, the meal today had ingredients that I'm allergic to, not only in the dessert, but also in the main courses. The allergenic ingredients were used in marinades and sauces, which weren't apparent from just looking. The woman who approached me earlier had taken the reservation call from my mother-in-law and said that no mention of my allergies had been made. However, she noticed the allergy badge on my bag and came to check just in case. As the chef responsible for our meal that day, she immediately noticed the inclusion of allergenic ingredients. If she hadn't informed me, I would have unknowingly consumed the food with allergens, resulting in a severe allergic reaction. Initially, I doubted that my mother-in-law would purposely make me consume allergens. But considering the woman took time out of her busy schedule to inform me, I quickly believed her. Furthermore, this woman knew about my mother-in-law's true nature and deduced my situation. She advised me to leave immediately and ensure I went somewhere my mother-in-law would follow. The reason she knew my mother-in-law was that she was my husband's ex-wife, now working under her maiden name, Kate Young. Seeing me with my mother-in-law, she realized I was the new wife and decided to help me out. She assumed I was the new wife because she believed that my mother-in-law wouldn't have female friends, especially someone of a similar age, after getting married to my husband. The ex-wife had lived with his parents and was subjected to significant mistreatment by my mother-in-law before they married. Like me, she thought the mother-in-law was gentle and kind, which left her quite baffled once they started living together. When my husband or father-in-law wasn't around, the ex-wife faced continuous criticism for her housework and was always subjected to snide remarks. Being a full-time housewife, she had no escape. Despite her culinary skills honed from attending a professional cooking school, my mother-in-law still found faults with her dishes, even discarding them at times. The ex-wife, proficient in cooking, considered discussing this with her husband. But my mother-in-law was adept at concealing her true nature, especially around him. She felt that her complaints would fall on deaf ears, so the ex-wife aimed to gather evidence. However, as a recently turned full-time housewife, she lacked funds and was almost constantly under the watchful eye of my mother-in-law. Unable to gather proof and without anyone to confide in, she felt trapped in this life. So she fled in the form of a divorce. Despite never having worked before, she utilized her culinary license to seek employment and was fortunate to land a job at the restaurant. Working diligently, over time, the memories of her mistreatment faded, and she began to enjoy her work. After a few years, she matured into a full-fledged chef. For some reason, my mother-in-law discovered that she worked there and started frequenting the restaurant. Upon realizing her ex-daughter-in-law was there, she discreetly threatened her for discounts, while the ex-wife declined absurd demands. Past traumas influenced her to yield to some. The connection my mother-in-law spoke of referred to the ex-wife. When I questioned why she hadn't communicated my allergies to the restaurant, my mother-in-law feigned ignorance. "I knew about your allergies, so I must have told them." "Maybe it's the staff's oversight," she countered defensively, placing the blame on the restaurant staff. Given that the reservation call was handled by the ex-wife, it was probable that my mother-in-law deliberately didn't mention the allergies, intending to pin the blame on the restaurant. However, I was already onto her game. Considering the restaurant's stringent guidelines on allergies, if informed, they'd have accommodated my dietary needs. Moreover, they record calls for dispute resolutions, making it easy to verify who was at fault. When confronted with this, my mother-in-law, not anticipating recorded evidence, fell silent. I pressed on. "You've always been cautious about my allergies. Why did you not mention them this time?" Until now, my mother-in-law was well aware of the dangers of allergies and always showed concern. I never imagined she'd do something like this. Given that we had a good relationship until now, I was curious why she acted this way and sought an explanation. I was shocked by her behavior, but more than that, I was baffled about why she would act in such a manner. After a brief silence, she defiantly shouted, "I despise you. You outshine me. You deserve some pain." She admitted to being envious since I received praise at work and was more liked in the neighborhood than her. Arrogantly, she claimed that even if I spoke out, no one would believe me. If it weren't for this incident, I wouldn't have believed she was capable of such actions. Thus, I had collected evidence to reveal her true nature and confronted her with it. Everyone present had heard her berate me and her intentions to purposely expose me to allergens. In fact, after leaving the restaurant, I immediately went to my parents' house, and John joined us. I had informed them of the situation, and we were discussing our next steps when she called. So I swiftly switched the call to speaker and started recording it for evidence. As a result, we had her incriminating statements on tape. She was taken aback by my revelation and asked in a shaky voice, "Wait, is John there with you?" She never expected her son to find out and asked in a trembling voice. In response, her son, who had been silent and emotionless gathering evidence, spoke up. "I heard everything. I can't believe you do something like this, Mom," he said in a suppressed, angry tone, and she hastily began making excuses, claiming, "It wasn't like that. I didn't mean." Her desperate attempt seemed insincere, especially after her earlier outburst. His anger was evident as he shouted, not only towards Kate but also towards Emily, "I don't even want to think of you as my mother anymore. We're cutting ties." Given the true nature of the mother he had trusted, John was beyond furious. He declared his estrangement from her, ignoring her cries. Furthermore, my parents said they would sue her for attempted murder, and John cut off the call, disregarding her voice. Later, when John informed his father about the incident, he was furious and suggested divorce, eventually throwing her out of the house. With no relatives to rely on, no income, and being a housewife, she clung desperately, pleading and crying. Her husband, feeling a final bit of pity, put her in a basic apartment, paying the first month's rent, and told her to find work so she could support herself. However, having been a housewife, she seemed to lack the drive to work and clung to both John and me. She barged into our house demanding money, but we drove her away, telling her to earn it herself. John, who was extremely stern, ensured she wouldn't approach our house again. Later, rumors suggested she started working at a nearby supermarket, but seemed quite disheveled. Given her nasty attitude, she had no one to rely on and seemed to be struggling on her own. I hope she continues to work hard, both for her own expenses and to pay us the compensation, and I want her to stay out of our lives. As for why she did what she did, it seems she was jealous of me and wanted to see me suffer. John's ex-wife had moved in after graduating from a vocational school and became a housewife. She was submissive, obeyed her mother-in-law, and had a quiet nature. Due to her unpleasant character, which made her disliked by women and her enjoyment in bullying those weaker than herself, she used to take out her stress on John's ex-wife. However, I am independent, working, and getting promotions. I had a higher social status than her and was well regarded in our neighborhood. Initially, she liked me, thinking I was a competent daughter-in-law, but she gradually grew jealous. Being unable to bully me, she wished I'd be in a position where I become incompetent, wanting to look down on me. After the explosive call when Johnny and his father confronted her, she confessed everything, leading to their declaration of cutting ties with her. Later, John apologized to his ex-wife for not noticing the bullying. At that time, he was new at his job and deeply trusted his mother, which blinded him to her behavior. Still, he felt he should have noticed and was regretful. His ex-wife assured him she was over it. She's dating someone now, and their conversation ended on a peaceful note. John felt relieved knowing she was genuinely happy, thanks to her help. I became friends with John's ex-wife. She's also career-oriented, and we get along well. Although she's his ex-wife, there's nothing concerning regarding their relationship. And I'm glad to have a friend close in age. After settling matters with my mother-in-law, John and his father threw me a promotion party. With the celebration from the two of them, I felt happy and determined to continue working hard without worrying about my mother-in-law.